friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah from Pies and Pros, and today we are eating a lot of food, and I'm so excited. You have no idea how excited I am to just sit behind this camera and just eat all the delicious holiday foods. So that's what we're doing today. We are taste testing vegan holiday substitutes. So I went about picking this video and picking the items in this video thinking of the time when I wasn't vegan. So this is actually my first year as a vegan, going into the holiday season and preparing for holiday dinners. And I thought about the things that I would just, when I wasn't vegan, the things that I would go to the store and just naturally pick up, just not even thinking about it. For example, stuffing and turkey and gravy, and thinking about how I can easily swap those things for vegan substitutes. So if you didn't know, a lot of these same ingredients, like obviously the turkey is meat, but like stuffing and gravy and whatnot have animal products in it. So things like chicken stock or butter or eggs, like you wouldn't think that it's in there, but they are. So I went about it this year by going to the grocery store and looking around for these same items that you just naturally pick up during this time of year and finding vegan swaps. So substitutions or just vegan versions of the same exact items. And I'm going to taste test them for you today to see how they rank. Are they good? Are they not good? And just some really key information about everything so that you're aware going into the holiday season what you can, what you can't buy, and if any of these things are worth investing in. I will say that a lot of videos during this time of year are ranking roasts. As you can see right here, I have a roast here. This is very popular with the vegan community because obviously we're looking for a substitute for a main that's not meat. So I understand that this is the most popular thing to be ranking. However, this video is not going to be focused just on roasts, just because I wanted to try to find things that are easily accessible all across the board, not just roast-wise. But I do have a few favorite videos from other YouTubers that I can link in the description that have great reviews and taste tests of roasts, like upwards of to 9 roasts. Sweet Simple Vegan is one of my favorites, and Make It Dairy Free, so I will link some resources in the description below when it comes to vegan roasts, but we're just gonna get into taste testing this. And as you can see, it's kind of a small spread. Don't worry, this is just day one. I have to do this over a span of a couple of days because I went to the grocery on a day that I thought was gonna be quiet, and it was really busy, and I couldn't find anything. I'm going to be taste testing this as part of the day one, as you'll see, and then I'm going to go grocery shopping today, and then we'll keep going on for the rest of the week based on what I can find. And yeah, let's just get to eating. I wanted to start first with something simple. We've got here some eggnog, and by egg, there's no egg in this at all. This is actually the almond version, so it's almond milk eggnog. It is from Almond Breeze, so highly popular brand, so it should be easily accessible. And where I found it was, there was actually like a seasonal section. I went to Wegmans for this particular set of stuff, and there was a section that had a bunch of eggnogs. And so there were regular eggnogs, and then at the bottom there were plant-based eggnogs. So there was a couple of almond milk ones, there was a coconut eggnog, and there was a soy milk based eggnog. So I picked up one of the almond just because there were multiple almond milks, and yeah, it was pretty cheap for like one of those slim cartons. And as you can see, it's very white and it's very creamy. However, I do see some specks of spices. It literally smells like nothing. So it has spice specks in it, but from what I remember, like regular or traditional eggnog, there's a lot more, and there's usually like a really strong smell coming off of it, but this smells like nothing. Literally nothing. Let's try it. I'm actually a little bit scared to start off, even though I thought this was going to be the easiest one. Let's see. And I will preface by saying that I used to be a huge eggnog fan. So we'll see. Whoa. Wow. Okay. So I am like extremely impressed with how this tastes as opposed to how it looks and how it smells. First of all, there's no smell. Zero. And usually there's like a ton of specks of like spices in it so that you know it's going to be really spicy and delicious. This isn't spicy, but it has a lot of flavor. And it's insanely creamy. For almond milk, at least. Like, it's got the viscosity, I don't know if you can see, but it has the viscosity of like coconut milk, like from the can. A little bit thinner than traditional eggnog, but I guess it depends on the kind of eggnog that you were having when it was traditional. But it has a really nice flavor. It's vanilla. It's a really strong vanilla, and it does have the cinnamon and nutmeg spice. Wow. This is really good. I can easily drink this entire cup of it. I will say, when I used to drink traditional eggnog, I couldn't finish a cup because it was so thick. This is actually, I almost prefer this more than traditional eggnog. It's obviously not as spiced, but it's subtle, and I like it, and I think it would actually taste good if you put the rum in there like you typically would. I definitely recommend this. I will also say that I've tried Califia's almond milk eggnog as well. I didn't get it this time because it's always in a huge jug, but that one tastes really delicious too. A lot thinner than traditional eggnog and a lot thinner than this, but more spiced. So I guess if you're looking for something more spiced, I would go with Califia. If you're looking for something more creamy and subtle, go with this one. Almond Breeze, not bad. Okay, off to a good start. I'm excited now. I was a little worried when it smelled like nothing. All right, so I'm just gonna go right in there, and I'm gonna go to my personal favorite dish during this time of year. I can eat buckets and buckets of stuffing. So we're going with stuffing next, just because I can't wait any longer. And this is what it looks like. It's really clumpy. It actually looks kind of dry, in my opinion. I like it a lot more wet than this. And I used to have the stuffing that used to be like, this is so disturbing, but I used to eat the stuffing that was like in the turkey. And I used to make stuffing on the side. And both I would make really like wet, just because I personally like it that way. But this is a little bit more on the dry side, as you can see. It's not like sopping wet, but it does have moistness to it from looks perspective. And I found this at Wegmans. It was actually one of the holiday display stuffings, and it's a very popular brand, actually. It's Pepperidge Farm, so that's a really, really well-known and popular brand, and it was vegan. There's no animal products in this at all. I picked up the classic stuffing. I also picked up the cubed stuffing because I'm going to be using that for like during the holidays, but they were both vegan, no chicken stock, no chicken powder or anything like that, so you're good to go. And the way that you make this is with, you just use some vegan butter. You're supposed to use onion, but I didn't have any onion, so I used onion powder and broth. So I used like a bouillon, and I just made broth out of that, and then I just used this. It came together very, very easily, as stovetop stuffing does. Not the brand, but you know what I mean. And the price was pretty cheap. I can't remember how much it was. I'll put it on the screen if I can recall, but it was also like really, really cheap. And yeah, I think it's just a breadcrumb base. It's not like cornbread or anything fancy. There's herbs in there, and that's pretty much it. Let's try it. I have high standards for stuffing. So, it smells good. It smells so good. It smells herby. Should I put this whole thing in my mouth? Oh my god. Okay. Okay, I have thoughts. So, I'm not gonna bash Pepperidge Farm. Pepperidge Farm, you're doing something here. Here's my thoughts. My first initial thought. It's a little gluey. You know, like, I think it's because it's not moist enough. So it's kind of gluey. Like, it sticks onto the roof of your mouth like peanut butter, kind of gluey. I don't like that. I want it to be a lot more sopping, and I'm not like scraping it off the roof of my mouth. It sounds so bad. It's not that bad, but it is gluey. It's gluey. I can't lie to you there. The flavor, though, definitely taste those traditional holiday flavors. Very like herbaceous, not overly herbaceous. I mean, it's a stovetop pre-made stuffing. It's not going to be fancy, but it's herby. I like it. I feel like if I didn't add the onion powder, like if you omit the onion from this recipe, it would be lacking flavor. So I'm glad that I added the onion powder despite not having onion. And I know personally the broth that I use the Better Than Bouillon like broth base, and that is full of flavor. So I feel like that also added another layer of flavor to it. So the flavor is there, and the flavor is good, and I would enjoy this on a holiday dinner. But it's gluey. It's gluey. I'm gonna eat the heck out of it though. I would say if you amp it up just a little bit, which I know is kind of cheating by amping things up. We're supposed to be rating it by the way that it tastes, and solely that without adding stuff, but let's be real, most of us amp up our stuffing to begin with. I would add more liquid. Sorry for the sirens. I would add more liquid to make it a little bit more wet. Unless you like the drier, gluey texture, go for it. But I would add more liquid. And I would add a little bit more seasonings to it to amp up that flavor to another level. Like if you want this to really stand out, definitely add some more seasonings. Seasonal stuff like rosemary, thyme, sage, add celery. They also said that you can add celery to this, so definitely do add celery, add onion, add all the things. And I also found some like vegan prosciutto, which I will link in the description. I haven't tried it yet, but chopping that up and mixing it into this might also be a plus. Add a nice salty like element to it. But on its own, just like this, it's okay. I would say it's worth it because it's really cheap and it still has the stuffing flavor that we all know and love. But you have to spruce it up if you want it to taste good. So I do think it's worth it as long as you spruce it up a little bit. I'm kind of sad that it's not just amazing on its own. The next thing is, and I'm leaning really weird like this because the camera is just not getting my entire head, but the next thing is something that might come as a surprise, probably not for veteran vegans, but certainly for me, and it might be for you. But do we know what these are? I'm pretty sure we all know what these are. These are the Pillsbury crescent rolls. So these are actually accidentally vegan. They weren't purposely made to be vegan, but they are. And isn't that awesome? Because they're really buttery and flaky as we all know it. It's also really cheap, extremely accessible. This you can probably find anywhere. You can probably even find this at like discount stores. Really buttery, really flaky looking, delicious. Let's try it. Brings back memories, so good. You can definitely spruce these things up by adding fillings. So you can add vegan cheese, you can top it with vegan butter and some garlic powder. You can top it with herbs. You can maybe like pat down some herbs into the dough before you roll it up and bake it. And it's just instantly like a brand new thing. If you want to do that and you want to make it easy for yourself, you can even make them into balls and make them like bombs, so that if they're shaped like a ball and it's like filled with a filling, you can do that as well. So you can really experiment if you don't want to make something buttery and flaky from scratch vegan style. You can definitely experiment with those. this is going to be the last for, or the last and the second to last for day 1. We're gonna get right into the roast and the gravy that came with it. So this roast actually had a gravy that comes with it. I can't believe we're already to the last one. I feel like I haven't had anything. It's fine. We're gonna have multiple days of this. So the next thing is the main, which is going to be our roast, a vegan roast. And speaking of roast, this is the roast from Field Roast. So this one, wow, it looks great on the inside. This one is highly recommended by a lot of vegans during the holiday season. Field Roast is like one of the top ones, and it was pretty cheap. Like, as we know, turkeys are extremely expensive. This was $12, and this is only half of the serving size. I cut it in half, so it's actually like this big for $12. To me, I think that's a really great price. It was very easy to make. Also found it at Wegmans. This was one of the only roasts that they had there. They had the tofurkey roast, but a lot of people have reviewed that, so I didn't want to do that one. So this was one of the only that was at Wegmans. Price is a pretty good price compared to some of the other ones. I think the tofurkey one was listed as $26 or $27 there. Another reason why I didn't want to get it. But yeah, and it has a stuffing that's already on the inside. It says that you have to thaw it 24 hours in advance. I want to mention that because a lot of people forget that part. And it was in the oven for an hour. Yeah, it came out really well. I will say that I used a cast iron pan, and they said to like grease the pan or whatever it is that you use when you're cooking this. And I did that, and it's still kind of stuck to the bottom. So just a heads up for that. And let's try it, I guess. This is my first vegan roast, like, ever. I didn't even know what a vegan roast was up until like last year, where I wasn't even vegan. I was just like researching the idea of it, and found out that there are vegan roasts, which is pretty awesome that that these days you can get a roast that is vegan, and the vegan's main doesn't have to be a vegetable. It can be a roast. The stuffing actually like blends in, which by the way, I'm also excited that there's stuffing in this. But the stuffing blends in with the rest of the meat, and I can't really tell where the start and finish of it is, but I don't mind. And then we'll try it with the gravy that it came with. It came with a mushroom gravy, so heads up if you don't like mushrooms, this one comes with a mushroom gravy. This is what it looks like. Oh my gosh. I'm really excited for this. Oh my god. Camera shut off. Oh my gosh. I thought I was skeptical about y'all on YouTube reviewing this one because, first of all, I don't like Field Roast sausages. Like, you know, the breakfast sausages or the links that Field Roast does. I do not like them at all. Like, at all, I do not. This tastes amazing. This has the texture of turkey, maybe slightly off, slightly off if you're talking about like turkey breast that's like dry and gross. But this has the texture of like turkey meat, not like seitan or anything like that. And the stuffing is pretty herby. Hold on. I'm not gonna lie to you, the stuffing in the center of this is better than this stuffing. Like, it's moist. Sorry, I know a lot of people don't like that word, but it's wet. It has flavor. It has a lot of flavor. Celery, all those holiday flavors it hits on. Like, it hits head on for sure. And it has a crispy exterior. I will note that I had to like coat the exterior with a little bit of olive oil. It's crispy. Oh my god. Honestly and truly, y'all, I thought this was gonna be okay. I thought this was gonna be all right. Okay, Field Rose. Impressed with you. As someone who wasn't a Field Rose fan in the past and have tried multiple times to try them, to like them, I really, really recommend this. Price, taste, how easy it was to make, super worth it. Definitely worth it. And I haven't tried the other roast, so maybe my review here is going to be slightly biased because I have nothing to compare it to. But for someone whose last holiday meal was straight up turkey, turkey who? Like, I don't care anymore. This is so good. I'm hyping it up too much. I apologize if you don't end up liking this, but I highly recommend it for its price, its accessibility. It was like a lot of them in stock, and the taste, how easy it was to create, how easy it was to heat up and prepare. I don't even think it needs anything with it. I don't need the gravy, but I'm gonna try the gravy now. So the gravy looks a little like bleh. It's kind of like solidifying. Oh, it's solidified on top. But here's the thing with the gravy, okay? It came as a powder and said to mix with water. And that had me highly suspicious because what? So I thought it was going to be wet nonsense. It was going to be like broth basically. And I just have to say how impressed I am with how thick it got. Like, this is thick. This is gravy that you want on your holiday roast. So impressed with how it like thickened up despite it being a powder. It smelled good when I was cooking it. I can't really smell it anymore. It's also getting a little cool. So it's actually a lot thicker than before. It thickens up as it sits. So keep that in mind. It did take about 3 to 5 minutes to cook just by pouring it into a pan with water, just water and the powder, and it magically became gravy. And like I said before, this comes with the roast. So no need to buy gravy unless you're like buying extra gravy for like supplemental reasons, but it comes with gravy, and it's a whole pot full of gravy. I just put it in the small container for taste testing sake. So I'm going to taste it on its own, and then I'm going to taste the roast with it because it's meant to be with the roast. So let's see. Okay. It's very gravy textured. Really thick gravy. I personally am not offended by thick gravy. I will say there's little specks of things in it, and I don't know what the things are. I think mushroom. And you know what? Shockingly flavorful for something that came as a powder mix. It has umami. I think that's the number one thing I can say about the taste. It's very umami, and of course that's from the mushroom. Not herby, not brothy, like I don't taste an underlying broth, of course, because I used water. You might be able to amp that up by using broth instead of water, but I just followed the instructions. I like it. Obviously it's weird when you eat it on its own, and I've eaten way too much of it on its own. For your comfort, I apologize. But let's try it with the roast. I'm actually a gravy on everything kind of person, so if you feel me, I'm gonna try it with every single thing. But let me know in the comments if you're also a gravy on everything kind of person. Oh man, I'm so impressed with the roast. So impressed. Oh shoot, I lost it. Now I have way too much gravy. Yes. It tastes fantastic with the roast. I think a really fantastic pairing. I will say that the roast isn't better by adding the gravy. It tastes fantastic with the gravy, of course, because I like gravy on my roast. But not necessary to put on your roast. So I think that's saying how good the roast is, and not underselling the gravy. The gravy is good. It's a good compliment to the gravy, and the price, the value, all of that I've said, worth it. And definitely worthy of being on your holiday dinner. Crescent roll into the gravy. Somehow it tastes flavorless with the crescent roll. Maybe the crescent roll is overpowering it there. Not as great of a companion. Stuffing, our dry gluey stuffing, into the gravy. It made it better. And I think it made it better not because of flavor wise, but it did add a little bit of flavor. But it made it better by making it less dry. I like it so much better now that it has gravy on it. I'm so impressed with these options here. Aside from the stuffing and of course knowing what I know about the crescent rolls, expectations met or exceeded here. Roast definitely exceeded my expectations. Nog, surprisingly really good. Crescent rolls, you can't go wrong with that. Stuffing needs some work, but you can definitely amp it up and it'll be really tasty. And gravy, not bad from something that came out of a powder bag. That is it for day 1. I will see you back here for day 2. Hello, we're back with day 2, and I am so excited for day 2. I thought I would be over it already by day 1, but no, I'm just as excited, maybe even more excited, because I got a chance to go to Trader Joe's. So when I said that I was going to go do some more shopping, I initially thought that I was going to end up at Whole Foods, because Whole Foods just has a lot of options. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to Whole Foods, but just know that that's an option for you. But I did end up going to Trader Joe's, which I know is a place that I know a lot of people are interested in shopping. So I got my hands on some really awesome Trader Joe's stuff. As you can see here, sort of, kind of. I'll show like little clips of the different things that I got as we go through it. But we've got a bit of a spread here. I think it's time we just get right into this. Let's start with the sides. So I know I said in yesterday's video that I wasn't gonna get things that you wouldn't normally get. For example, mac and cheese. A lot of people make that from scratch on a holiday because they want to make it fancy and whatnot. But when I was at Trader Joe's, I saw this bag of frozen sweet potatoes, and they're not just frozen sweet potatoes, they're frozen mashed sweet potatoes. Now I think this is an exception because one, technically this is one of Trader Joe's holiday items, so I felt like it counted, but also, you know, when you're cooking on a holiday, like the day of, you want everything fresh and hot out of the oven, the sweet potatoes or the potatoes typically take forever to make. And that takes up a lot of oven time, a lot of oven space. So I figured, why not test out this frozen bag that you make on the stovetop for 10 minutes with a little bit of water and see if this is, you know, doable or worthy enough of your holiday platter. So, like I said, it took me 10 minutes to make this. It looks pretty fantastic in my opinion. All it took was a little bit of water. I put everything in a pan, stirred it up until it was heated through, and it turned into mashed sweet potatoes, which is wild to me. And it was pretty cheap. It was in the frozen section at Trader Joe's. As you know, those frozen items go, they're pretty much on the cheap side. I will say that this is 100% sweet potatoes. There's nothing else. So right off the bat, I'm gonna have to say that you have to add things to this before I even taste it, because it's just sweet potatoes. I'm just shocked at the consistency of this. Like, you have no idea. Oh my gosh. Wow. You know, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with, this was like frozen discs in a bag. There's not much flavor aside from sweet potato because that's what it is. It's just sweet potato. However, it doesn't have a weird aftertaste. It doesn't seem like it came out of a bag. I will say that if you like your mash to be on the thicker side, a little bit clumpy or a little bit more body, this might not be your go-to. I would for sure serve this if you amp it up a little bit. Now, I'm not gonna say this is cheating because I didn't do that with this one. I didn't alter I didn't alter it in any way. What I would suggest is adding a little bit of vegan butter. For sure, you have to add the vegan butter. I would melt the butter in a pan and throw in some fresh thyme or rosemary or sage. Sage is probably the number one option if you go the herb route. And sort of toast the sage or the herb in the butter and then throw it into this once it's all like become one and like super flavorful type butter. Throw it into this A+ savory sweet potato mash. If you're going the casserole route, I would add coconut sugar or brown sugar and then top it with, you know, your vegan marshmallows. Trader Joe's has marshmallows that are accidentally or naturally vegan. You can do that, pop that in the oven, and you have yourself a casserole. It just needs a few more ingredients to amp it up because, of course, it's just sweet potatoes, but no weird aftertaste. Super delicious. A+, for what it is. I'm super impressed, honestly. Let's keep going to another side. What I have here, these little cute cones, are corn fritter cones. So that's literally what they are. They have a number of different vegetables, but the main ingredient is corn. And it's in like a puff pastry kind of like, I don't know how to explain that kind of pastry. It's not puff pastry, but it's got like a light and airy look to it, especially when you bake it in the oven. These go into the oven for like 15 minutes and they get really crunchy looking. It's basically a fritter, but out of the frozen aisle. I don't want to cheat, but you can amp this up with like a dipping sauce on the side if you want to make that homemade, but they look really pretty. You know, they will stand out on your dinner table. So that was something that caught my eye. Also, it was also part of the holiday dinner themed items at Trader Joe's. I looked up a list before I went, so this was one there, and I figured it's vegan, it's pretty, it's easy to make, why not try it? So I'm gonna try it. It looks really crunchy. It was also pretty cheap because, again, Trader Joe's frozen aisle. It's a miracle there. Let's see. Wow. We are starting off strong here. That is so good. Like, too good to be coming out of the frozen section. The vegetables in there, which is very corn forward, but I'm pretty sure there's peppers in there. They taste almost roasted, right? Because I put it in the oven for like 15 minutes, so that's a good enough time to get really penetrated in there. The vegetables taste roasted. There are herbs in there. So I'll just put a disclaimer out there if you're sensitive to herbs. There is definitely herbaceousness going on in there. It's a southwesterny type vibe is what I would say. I would say you have a little bit of a salsa or a cilantro sauce on the side of this. You have yourself something so worthy of the holiday spread. And of course, I will say I've never had a corn fritter like this before. I don't have anything non-vegan to compare it to, but still, this is something that I don't think a non-vegan would notice. Okay, so we've done two sides. Now let's get into the big boy, the roast. We also have a couple of gravies, more than one gravy to try here, so I think that'll be perfect segue. First of all, let me just preface by saying, when this roast was in the oven, the whole place was smelling so good. It actually reminded me of the turkey roasting on a holiday morning. In my opinion, it smells so good, and it has a crunchy exterior. So as you can see, this is different than the field roast from yesterday. There is hold on. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's really crunchy, and the smell of it also reminds me of like a fried chicken or a fried turkey. Smell A+, the crunch on the outside, something unique that you wouldn't always see in a roast. Gosh, it's so crispy. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this has a stuffing in the middle, like most of them do. It's really ripping apart like meat as well. This is what the Trader Joe's one looks like. Come on, come on, we'll get there. Okay, okay, can you see that? The color, the texture, it was sort of like ripping apart like meat when I was cutting into it just now. The smell is almost seitan-y. I don't know if that's what it's made of. Again, I'll link all of the information in the description. Let's see. Not bad. I like it. Do I love it? I'm not sure actually. Okay. First thoughts. Delicious. Super flavorful, not overly flavorful. This is nice and subtle, like turkey. I'm just gonna say that it's slightly too chewy, but it is a meaty texture, like 100% meaty texture. That breading is A+. Now let's actually taste the stuffing that's inside. Oh my god. That's the best stuffing that I've had in the past few days. That's better than any stuffing that I've had so far. I take back any negative things that I've ever said about this. This is so good. I don't know what happened when I put the stuffing that's in the inside together with the turkey. For some reason, the turkey on its own is great. It's good. The stuffing on the inside is spectacular. So when you put them together, match made in heaven. And that's why they are together. So please get this if you get your hands on it. And if you can't get access to Gardein. Actually, you know what? That's not even fair for me to say. I haven't even tried Gardein. So I can't say which one is better or not. But I will say, between this and the field roast, this is significantly better than the field roast. It's time for gravy. And like I said, I have two gravies. So this gravy, this little one over here, this is the gravy that came with the roast. So as you can see, very gravy-like texture, consistency. Smells incredible. And it came in a frozen, like pre-made sauce. So all I needed to do was just heat it on a saucepan. None of that powdered and mixed with water type situation. So pre-made, if you will. Like I did yesterday, I'm just gonna taste it on its own. Y'all, it smells like turkey gravy. It's kind of weird, but it does smell good. Oh! The most flavorful gravy I've had in a long time. I'm not even kidding you. The most flavorful. I think it smacked me in the face with flavor just now. It's so flavorful. It's that addicting, delicious kind of salty, flavorful that you want from gravy like this. Overall, I would say comparing this roast to the field roast, this has been blowing my mind far more than the field roast. Although I was extremely impressed with the field roast, this is blowing my mind just a bit more. Actually, a lot more. They are the same price. So this was like in the $12, $13 range. They are the exact same price. They're almost about the same exact size as well. I would say the Trader Joe's one is just a slight bit larger. You get way more gravy with the field roast, but this gravy tastes better. So let's try it with the roast. I kind of want to just turn this camera off and just have at it with this. So worthy of your main. 110%. Field roast, extremely worthy of your dinner as well. But this one, if you can get this one, same price, it's $12.99 for this magic, and it comes with fantastic gravy. Get this. I'm gonna go into the next gravy, which like I said, is the tofurkey gravy. I bought it in this container that it comes in. So it's just gravy on its own, and it's advertised as giblet gravy, which is kind of interesting that they went that route, but that's what they are calling it. And you can heat this on the saucepan as well, but because I was low on stovetop space, I microwaved it. Oh gosh, it got gelatinous already, even though it's still hot. I will say it's a little bit more on the gritty side. So as you can see, it's not as silky smooth It is very much like gravy, but it is pretty like, it's got like a grit or a clumping going on. And this is after heating it for like 6 minutes and hopefully finding a way to smooth it out. But this is as smooth as I got it. It smells interesting. It smells like broth, actually. I don't want to like say it smells gross. It smells like broth. So we'll see how this tastes. If you're trying to get a gravy on its own like this, it should be worthy of having multiple things go into it, as opposed to this gravy that just came with the roast and it's a small amount and it's just for the roast. Although I personally think I would put this on everything. If you're gonna get a gravy like this, it should be worth using on multiple things that you're gonna be eating, in my opinion. And I think this was a little bit more on the pricey side. I think this was like about $6 or so, so it's kind of pricey. I will also say that I've purchased bottled gravies pre-made before, as opposed to making like a homemade gravy. So I do have something to compare it to, as opposed to like these corn fritters where I had nothing to compare it to. This compares to high-end gravy that I've made in the past. Tastes way better than non-vegan gravy from the bottle that I've had in the past. And it was significantly better than the field roast gravy. So let's see. That's just to say I've had experience with gravy, non-vegan, and the ones that I've just recently have, and pre-packaged and homemade. So hold up. Let me just say, I am deeply impressed with the 2 gravies that we've had today. The taste is fantastic. This is super, super delicious and flavorful. I'm impressed. I had to taste it compared to this one for a second because I was like, wait a second. Are they like extremely similar? No, they're not extremely similar. This one still wins. This one still packs in far more flavor. But this one, runner up, extremely flavorful, and you get a lot of it. So it better be flavorful if you're getting so much of it and you're paying that much for it. Now, is it better than a homemade gravy that you could probably make that's cheaper than what you're paying for this? I mean, yeah, it's homemade compared to store-bought, but like I said, these are things that you just pick up on the regular if they're worthy enough for being on your dinner spread. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it if you don't want to go through the trouble of making a homemade gravy. Granted, it's not that hard to make a homemade gravy, but if you're really short for time, things like the mash, this is time-saving. The frozen items, these are time-saving tools, and if they're delicious, why not, right? Now let's try it with some other things. We're gonna try it with this roast. I put a lot of gravy too, by the way. They pair well together. So far, still think that it's worth it. Now, to explain why I have this little mini platter of what I had yesterday, I want to test this gravy to all lengths, and so I want to try it with different things to see if it really works with a lot of different things that you're going to have on your plate during the holidays. So I brought back a biscuit, one of the crescent rolls. I brought back some stuffing, and I brought back a tiny piece of the field roast Pillsbury. This complements the bread very well. Now with the field roast, sorry for the hands, my hands are clean. Does a better job than the field roast gravy. So this is the ultimate test, the stuffing. So let's see. It made it so much better, and honestly the huge containers worth of stuffing that I have right now is gonna go with this. All right, so I will actually say though that that gravy was on the pricier side. It is actually worth the price, I would say. Everything that I've had today so far is A+. I enjoy eating. It's time for dessert. Now, I would just like to say I did my best. I tried so hard to find a vegan pumpkin pie. I tried so hard to find a vegan apple pie. It was kind of hard for me. It is 2 weeks before most people gather for holiday eating, so maybe that's why. Still kind of early, I don't know. I'm so sorry. I wanted to have that included. I know that's something very traditional, but I did find something that could be a fantastic holiday dessert. And what's great about them is that they're in singular servings. So, this right here is the Trader Joe's cheeseless cheesecakes. I know you've heard of them. They're very popular among the taste test videos on YouTube. I didn't want to buy this. I didn't want to have to purchase this. I prefer that I found a pumpkin pie or another different pie. I saw so much mixed feelings about this cheeseless cheesecake from Trader Joe's that I was just like, nah, I don't care enough to try this. However, I couldn't find anything else. And I thought, well, you know, the ease of preparing these cheesecakes, which is essentially no preparation, if they end up being absolutely delicious, this is actually perfect for single serving sized desserts on your holiday platter. And this is also something a lot like the mash, the sweet potato mash, that you know very well because it's coming out of the frozen section that you're going to have to amp it up. But if it saves you time, convenience, ease, you can just grab it and go. It might be 100% worth it and worthy of your holiday dinner. So that's why I decided to do that for you. You're welcome. I am not excited. I feel like this is going to be the worst thing. They come 2 in a pack. I think that's a little ridiculous. At least come in a couple, like a few more, maybe 4 in a pack. 2 in a pack is not going to feed a family. But if you have a family of 2, which I do, it will work out. But if you're hosting a small, immediate, bubbled holiday dinner, you're going to have to buy multiple boxes of this, which I just find is a little inconvenient. That's all I'm going to say about that. First of all, it went in exactly like cheesecake. I can feel the bottom, like that graham crackery bottom. Oh wow, there's barely a bottom. I'm not gonna like this. It smells good. It smells very vanilla forward. Not funky or cheesy, because of course. Oh God. No. I don't like it. I don't like this. I don't like this. It's so sweet. The bottom is literally sugar. That's what it tastes like to me. It doesn't taste like graham cracker. It tastes like sugar. It tastes like I just put my mouth in like a spoon of granulated sugar. The top isn't as offensive as I thought it was going to be. It's not cheesy at all. It tastes like a vanilla. You know what? It has a texture of a nice soft cheesecake. Not like New York style cheesecake, but a nice soft set. It has the texture of that for sure. Vanilla forward, extremely vanilla-y. Not cheesy, doesn't have the twang of cheese. It's extremely sweet. I do not like that. No. Is it worthy of your holiday dinner? I don't think so. I think you can make something single serve and homemade for a lot cheaper and a lot easier, and it's just not good. I'm trying to think of ways that I could amp this up so that it would taste good. I think my main issue with it is that it's sweet. The crust is almost non-existent, and it's almost not even a layer. It is extremely vanilla-y, which is the only thing that I like about it, and it does have a slight cheesecake texture, so the texture is there and reminiscent. If you like New York style cheesecake, this is a hard no for you. That is the one thing that I'm not going to recommend here. I do not think it's worth it. Everything else, very, very good, and I do recommend. So we have made it to the end of this whirlwind of a video. I don't know how well I did. This was my first taste test type video, and I don't have a dinner table, so I've been using my workspace desk to do all of this, so hopefully I did all right. And final thoughts time. So What were my favorite things and what were my not so favorite things? My absolute favorite thing from everything that we tried is the Trader Joe's roast. Everything that was in that box was absolutely delicious. The price was spot on at $12.99 for a main. That's pretty affordable in my opinion, especially a year ago when I was buying like a $50+ turkey just for the main. And the stuffing that was in it was phenomenal. It was the best stuffing that I had throughout the entire taste test. And the gravy was shockingly delicious. Like, really, really surprising. Had so much flavor. I think overall, every single piece in that roast was so good and so worth being part of your holiday dinner. I'll also say that plant-based eggnogs are doing something. They're quite impressive. They're super creamy and flavorful. The eggnog is really thick and luscious and delicious and honestly perfect for a coffee creamer as well. So I was also impressed with that. Cue in the church bells, but on to the things that I dislike. On day one, the only thing that I really disliked was the stuffing. This is the Pepperidge Farm Classic stuffing, and you know what? I'm not gonna completely bash it. I think just with a couple of tweaks to defend them, the recipe did ask for like onion and celery, and I did not have onion and celery, which would have added in a huge amount of flavor. I think it is clear from day two, and there's no salvage, there's no savior, there's nothing that can be said about the Trader Joe's cheeseless cheesecakes. They are so gross. If you like them, that's fantastic, but I think they're gross. I'm so sorry. I even gave it to Ian, and I thought Ian was gonna like it, and he took one bite, and he was like, no, I can't even handle how sweet this is, which is shocking, because this is somebody who would put like chocolate spread on top of already loaded ice cream kind of person. So I was like, really? Like, you really don't like this? And he's like, no, it just tastes like sugar. So there you go. You have two perspectives on the cheeseless cheesecakes. It's not just me. I would do a little bit more searching and try to find a vegan pumpkin pie. And if you really can't find a vegan pumpkin pie, it's one of those pies that doesn't require like too much intense labor. I don't think you need to be afraid of just making a pumpkin pie homemade. I think it'll be just fine. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful or fun or entertaining going into the holiday season. Hopefully this year you're doing it solo, virtual, or perhaps in a small bubble, but definitely be safe. You know, you can always make these recipes and eat it by yourself like I did. I mean, I had a great time. I'm also going to mention that I just created like a grocery list over on my Patreon. It's a vegan grocery list that is just, it's divided by different types of items. So it's dairy and bakery items, herbs and whatnot. I'll put a little preview right here. But I just posted that on my Patreon, and along with the grocery list, I wrote a separate recipe suggestion list. So it doesn't have recipes on it, but it has recipe suggestions that pair exactly with the ingredients that I added on the grocery list. I also did a Q&A on how to host a dinner party, and I did a whole section on how to host a dinner party solo or virtual or socially distanced this year. That is also on my Patreon. I will link that in the description as well. If you want to support me, if you want a little bit more extra content on top of this video, you can definitely support my work there. And if you're like short on monetary support right now, you can definitely just watch another video of mine on my YouTube channel. That also helps my work a ton. Seriously, it does. It means a lot when you hit that subscribe button, and it means a lot when you leave comments and, you know, like the video. These are all great indicators for my account, and I appreciate it so much. I'm gonna end this off by saying that I will be doing more holiday themed videos this year. If you have any suggestions for anything you want to see in particular, let me know in the comments. This is my first year doing holiday videos, so this is brand new territory for me. I'm a little nervous. I'm actually really nervous about this video, so hopefully it was okay, and I'll see you in the next one.